If you are looking to boost your energy, stay strong and slim, and look and feel your best, this is the video for you. Hello, gorgeous girl. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my kitchen. And if you're new here, hello, I'm Tracy. I'm 49 years old and I have been in menopause for just about 2 years now, so I know how wild this ride can be. And there are definitely things that I've learned along the way that hopefully I can help you. So think of me as like your menopausal big sister. So today we're gonna be talking all about protein, why it's so important to menopausal women, and I'm gonna be breaking it down. So whether you are plant-based or a meat eater, I'm gonna be giving you some really quick and easy and delicious meal ideas so that you can meet your protein goals. Now, a couple things that I want you to know about me. I am not a dieter and I'm also not a macro tracker. However, I do think it's really important for women, especially in menopause, to have just like a basic idea of how many grams of protein that you are getting in a day. And I'm telling you, once you figure out this formula, you don't have to track it down or write it down. You'll just kind of know. You'll know on how you feel, what your energy levels, and so much more. Now, I don't have to tell you by now, you probably know that protein is absolutely essential for menopausal women. And our needs for protein actually increase as we age. So before we go into the meal ideas, I'm going to tell you the 5 reasons why it's crucial to incorporate more protein in your diet in menopause. Oh, and by the way, if you're not already in menopause, you should still listen up because perimenopause, in my opinion, is actually worse than menopause. So I'm going to go into detail of the importance of these 5 reasons, but first let me just give you the overall. Muscle preservation and strength maintenance, bone health, hormonal balance, and support for your overall health. Now, before we dive into this, I just want to say a huge thank you to Gem for sponsoring today's video. By now, you've probably heard me talking about my Gem Bite, and I look forward to taking my Gem Bite every single day. 90% of all Americans are actually nutrient deficient due to our overfarmed soil and just the quality of our food. Each delicious Gem Bite is packed with over 20 real food vitamins, minerals, superfoods, probiotics, and prebiotics. And they're also more bioavailable than other traditional supplements in the forms of pills or gummies. Not to mention that most of those pills and gummies are full of fillers and other stuff that you really just don't want in your multivitamin. So you're not going to get the powerful antioxidants and phytonutrients that can only be absorbed in your body through food. Gem's benefits compound to offer foundational health, including mood support, gut health, anti-inflammatory properties, healthy hair, skin, nails, bone, and even brain support. And listen, I'm Italian, so if I'm gonna eat something, it has to taste good. And I love the taste of my Gem Bite. It has this really citrusy ginger flavor that I truly look forward to every day. So I've hooked you up with a great discount. You can get 50% off your first order with Gem. All the information is gonna be listed down below in the description box, and just use my code TracyC at checkout. So let's dive into muscle preservation and strength maintenance and why this is so important. Unfortunately for women, because our estrogen levels start to decline in menopause, we experience sarcopenia. And that is basically just a fancy way of saying you're not as strong as you used to be and you don't have as much muscle mass. That also is what kind of contributes to a lot of women where they say, all of a sudden my arms are just jingly jangly, or I'm kind of like skinny fat. Now, we don't want to talk about ourselves like that. Let's be kind to ourselves. But protein is what helps to promote that muscle protein synthesis. That's basically going to keep that lean muscle mass on you and keeping you feeling and looking your absolute best. Bone health. Again, because of our estrogen levels declining during menopause, many women are at risk of osteoporosis and more prone to fractures or injuries to the bone if we fall. Protein plays a role in calcium absorption and bone remodeling. These fractures and falls are so important because research really shows that, especially later in life, if you experience them, it can shave 10 to even 15 years off of your lifespan, and nobody wants that. Now, protein is also hugely important for us to maintain our weight as we age. Now, as a 49-year-old woman, I definitely know that once I hit my 40s, things did, in fact, start to change, and not in a positive way. So higher protein diets can really lead to that overall feeling of being satiated and really reducing cravings and also helping you to have more energy, because the more muscle we have, the more energized we feel and the more youthful we feel in our body. Protein is also essential for the production of hormones. And like I said, these are the hormones that help to regulate your metabolism so we don't get that menopausal middle, and also our mood. And we all know what it feels like when you're constantly in a bad mood. Amino acids from dietary protein are precursors for neurotransmitters and hormones. This is really important during menopause because these fluctuations can lead to those mood swings, and back in the day, everyone just said, oh, you're crazy when you got to a certain age. But now we know it's actually just, we're really on the wild west of our hormones just being crazy right now. And increasing your protein and having a protein-rich diet is going to just support your overall health in general, specifically in menopause. It helps to support your skin function, your immunity, and even your recovery from injury. So now I'm sure you're nodding your head saying, okay, we get it. Protein is really essential. Like I said, I've got meal ideas for you. And this is something that I know you all really want. So like I said, I've got ideas for you, whether you're plant-based or you're a meat lover. So for most women, we have to really considerably up our protein intake when we're in menopause. And what that looks like for most women, and of course you can talk to your doctor or a nutritionist or something like that to really get your specific formula. But for me specifically, I feel like based on my body weight, about 100 grams of protein is a really great and sufficient number for me to really feel my best. You can kind of eyeball it. They say about 0.5 gram of protein to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Now I know we've got a global audience, so use the Google and figure it out for yourself. So one of my first hot tips for you is to really break that down. So in my case, if I figure, 100 grams of protein and I'm eating 3 meals a day, that would mean that I'm going to try to get around, ballparking it, 30 grams of protein in each meal. And obviously that's only going to get me to 90, but of course I like a snack or two. So those snacks, I'm going to try to cheat in some extra protein. So here's where it gets really good. I really have figured out some ways to get some little sneaky cheats to up your protein grams each day. So one really stupid easy way to get in extra protein is what I like to call mix it up, buttercup. And that is mixing together high quality protein sources. So here's what I mean by that. Like if you're going to be making some eggs and you eat dairy, maybe adding in some cottage cheese to up the protein in those eggs. Plus it makes them just so delicious and light and fluffy. Or maybe you're going to add some nuts and seeds to your yogurt. So that also is going to add an additional 10, 15, or 20 grams of protein to your yogurt. Or if you're someone that maybe you'd like to start your day with a protein shake and you're getting a really good high quality protein shake, maybe adding a little spoonful of nut butter to it to increase the grams of protein in it. Now you might be thinking, oh, I'm going to add almond milk. Well, fun fact, almond milk is actually pretty low in protein because it's really mostly water, so don't fall for that trap. But do make sure that you're combining those high quality protein sources so that you can cheat in extra grams of protein. My second sneaky cheat is doing what I like to call adding a side of protein. For instance, let's say you're having like a 3-egg omelet, which would be like normal for like a brunch or something. Well, if you add 3 slices of turkey bacon, which actually is higher in protein than regular bacon, you're going to be adding an additional 12 grams of protein to your plate. How easy is that? Now I know what some of you are thinking, well, Tracy, I don't eat meat or I don't eat animal products or dairy. Well, nuts and seeds are your friend. Let's say, for instance, you're having a salad and you have either a plant or an animal-based protein with it, but maybe you're still shy a few grams of protein or you just want to add some additional protein. A super easy way to do this is adding nuts and seeds. For example, hemp seeds can add an additional 10 grams of protein, pumpkin seeds about 7 grams for 1 ounce, peanuts will add about 7 grams for an ounce, or almonds or walnuts are between 4 and 6 grams for an ounce. Oh, and don't forget your vegetables. I mean, obviously vegetables are not super protein rich, but just a serving of vegetables is going to add an additional 4 to 6 grams of protein to your meals. So now we're going to get into which is probably going to be your favorite part. What does realistically a 30 gram of protein meal look like? And like I said, I'm going to give you some meat lovers options and also for my plant loving friends. So we talked about yogurt. This is traditional yogurt. This only has 7 grams of protein for 3/4 of a cup. Now, if you're like me, you're probably going to have a cup. So maybe that'll get you up. I'm not going to do the math right now, but let's say like 9 grams of protein for a cup of this. You don't want to do this. You want to do Greek yogurt. Now, I'd love to show you some, but I actually just ran out. But you know what Greek yogurt looks like? It probably looks like this, but with Greek yogurt on it. So if you take about a cup of Greek yogurt and you add 2 tablespoons of mixed nuts and about a 1/2 cup of berries, you're going to have approximately 30 grams of protein in that meal. Eggs. I love eggs. Eggs are so delicious. But for some of you, these actually aren't quite as high in protein as you might think, especially if you're going for 30 grams of protein. So if you have a 3-egg omelet, each little egg here is about 6 grams of protein. 6 times 3, that's 18. So what I would suggest is a couple things. You could add cheese to your omelet, a couple ounces of cheese. That's going to up your protein. You could, like I said earlier, scramble your eggs with a little bit of cottage cheese. That's also going to up your protein. Or you could add, like I said before, if you eat meat, some slices of turkey bacon, and just 3 slices of that, and I don't know about you, I can definitely eat more than 3 slices of turkey bacon. That's going to up it by about 12 grams for 3 slices. So it's about 4 grams per slice. So if you had 4 slices of turkey bacon and maybe you put it in a wrap, you're definitely going to hit 30 grams and probably even a little bit more. Now, if you're on social media, cottage cheese is definitely having a moment. I like it sometimes. I'm not the hugest fan of it. I think because when I was younger, I used to eat it a lot, and I don't know, it just kind of brings me back to the 80s, but it is a very, very high in protein and quality protein source if you eat dairy. Now, I know everyone's different, so someone's going to say, I don't eat dairy. Don't worry, I've got you covered in just a second. So if you have a cup of cottage cheese, you add in about a half cup of berries, and you're adding in some hemp seeds, that's going to get you up to 30 grams of protein. I mean, pretty easy, right? And I'm going to give you 2 plant-based options, and I'm also really interested in hearing from you. You could do a protein smoothie. So find a really good, high-quality plant-based protein powder. Unfortunately, a lot of them add in some really creepy ingredients, so you don't want any of those. And if you want me to do a whole video about that, definitely let me know in the comments below. But I would do 2 scoops of any great high-quality plant-based protein. That's going to get you to about 20 grams of protein right there. Add in a cup of almond milk, or you could do water if you want. Either is fine. And then if you add in a tablespoon of nut butter, you're going to up those grams of protein, right? So that's going to get you up to about 30 grams of protein. Super easy, right? Drink your protein. And I really believe that in a former life, I must have been from the Middle East, because probably my favorite food, and don't tell my parents, but even more than Italian food, is Middle Eastern food. So I love eating like a salad for breakfast. And I know that that is something that is often done in the Middle East. So if you do a chickpea salad for breakfast, and that's a cup of chickpeas, dice up some cucumber, have a little tomato in that, add a little dill, some delicious vinegar, all the things together, and guess what? That's gonna get you up to about 30 grams of protein. And if you eat cheese, put some cheese in there, or even mix in a little bit of cottage cheese, and you've got yourself a beautiful and more savory breakfast. So lunch and dinner, they're interchangeable for me, right? And I've talked about this before in other videos, but one of my favorite things to do is actually have leftovers for lunch. I just love a leftover. I got it from my dad, but I do find that it's really easy, and especially when we're talking about getting in more protein, to really kind of prep your protein. So for instance, last night I made a soup, and it's so easy, you know, a little bit of bone broth. I put in chicken legs, so chicken drumsticks, and carrots, onions, and spices, you know, dill, salt, pepper, whatever. But when the chicken was cooked, I knew I put in extra drumsticks so that I would have extra chicken prepared. So this chicken, there's so many things that I could do. I could make a chicken salad with this. I could make a chicken wrap with this. I could use a wrap and make like chicken tacos with this. The point is I made it really easy. So we had soup last night, but then we've got all this extra protein that is so good. Like if you cook it that way, it's just moist, it's delicious, and it's super, super loaded in protein. So something that I do really often is like a chicken taco. So I'll use something like this cooked chicken, and then I'll use this, which is an almond flour wrap. I just like these. I think that they just taste really delicious. And this adds an additional 6 grams of protein. And then I would add in a little bit of avocado, maybe a tomato, maybe a pickled onion, definitely jalapenos. And guess what? That's about 30 grams of protein. As long as you're using about 4 ounces of cooked chicken. Now remember, cooked chicken and raw chicken, they are gonna be different. So I'm kind of basing everything off of cooked ingredients. So this is about 4 ounces of cooked chicken. Let me show you close. She's not pretty, but she's cooked. If you eat fish, one of the easiest ways to get in tons of protein and really high quality protein source, tuna. Do you know that 1 can of tuna is 40 grams of protein? 40 grams, that is a ton. I love this kind of tuna because it's in olive oil and I just feel like the flavor is way more rich. So for me, I would probably do about 3/4 of a can. An entire can would be kind of a lot for me, but kind of put that over a big bed of greens, maybe some spinach, some tomatoes, maybe have like a little slice of toast on the side, and you have got probably closer to 40 grams of protein by doing something so easy and so delicious. Another thing that you can do with tuna is make almost like a mock sushi wrap. You don't have to be a sushi chef, but you can take some pre-cooked rice, just regular old rice, some avocado, maybe a little bit of carrot in there, and then put in some tuna, roll it up and slice it up, or even just eat it like a hand roll. It's such a delicious, easy way to get a really high protein lunch. Now, again, this isn't gonna look pretty, but I'm just keeping it real with you. Ground beef has tons of protein. Again, only if you eat meat, but I prepare ground beef all the time. I'll put a little bit of tomato sauce in it, onions, garlic, kind of cook it on the stovetop, and we almost always have ground beef or ground turkey in my refrigerator. Why? Super high quality source of protein, and then again, I can use it in a million different ways. I can put it on sauce and use this as kind of like a mock bolognese sauce with a little bit of cooked pasta. I could make it into a taco, which I do all the time, using one of those wraps, avocado, jalapenos, a little habanero sauce. I like things spicy. But again, this is gonna give you tons of protein and it's so easy. Now, for my plant-based friends out there, don't think like, okay, I'm gonna go on a tofu run. Tofu can be a little bit questionable. I think in small amounts it's actually great, but my preferred choice of a plant-based protein is tempeh. Tempeh has one of the highest grams of protein per serving of any of the plant-based proteins on it. And also it's a fermented soy product, which helps your body in digestion and just makes it just even better for your gut. So one serving of tempeh has 36 grams of protein. There's so much that you can do with tempeh. You can grill it up, you can add it, I like to do it like on a pan and just kind of cut it up into slices and then into cubes and make it almost like croutons for my salad. You could marinate it and make it sort of like a tempeh, sort of kind of like a bacon, or bake it into the oven. Or you could do it really simply as a stir fry. So stir fry up some vegetables and tempeh. And guess what? By having just 6 ounces of tempeh, that alone is gonna give you 36 grams of protein. How crazy is that? And another meal idea is doing something like a chickpea and quinoa bowl. So you do about a cup of chickpeas and then about a 1/4 cup of cooked quinoa. Add in whatever vegetables you have on hand. I always have cucumbers on hand because I love them. Carrots, you can slice them up nicely. A little bit of tomato if you've got them in season, and then season it to your liking. And just by doing that, you're gonna have about 20 grams of protein. And if you do eat cheese, you can add a little bit of cheese on top of that, and that's gonna up your protein grams significantly. Now, I feel like I could go on and on and on about this, but my point is protein is essential for you, and we can go into such a deeper dive here. So let me know in the comments. That's what I've got for you today. Definitely check out Gem. I really think you're gonna love them as much as I do. And if you wanna keep hanging with me here on YouTube, check out this video next, and I'll see you there.